They were called the Forgotten Generation, sandwiched between the boomers who rewrote culture and the millennials who broke the internet. Generation X was quietly dismissed, overlooked, and underestimated for decades. But something is shifting right now, something deep and psychological, and suddenly the world cannot stop talking about the generation that was never supposed to matter. The question is, why now? To understand why Gen X is having this cultural moment, you have to understand what they actually lived through. Born between 1965 and 1980, they grew up in a world that was falling apart in slow motion. Divorce rates were skyrocketing. Latchkey kids were coming home to empty houses, making their own meals, raising themselves before they even understood what that meant. There was no helicopter parenting, no participation trophies, no curated Instagram childhood. There was just life, raw and unfiltered. Gen X absorbed a level of emotional neglect that would send today's parenting culture into crisis mode. And they not only survived it, they internalized it. Psychologists call this emotional self-sufficiency. Some call it avoidant attachment. Gen X calls it Tuesday. Generation X is suddenly the most fascinating case study in human resilience that nobody thought to examine. They were never diagnosed. Gen X is not emotionally detached because they don't feel things. They are emotionally contained because they learned their feelings were not anyone else's problem. When you grow up in a culture that glorified toughness, you don't stop being human. You just become very, very good at managing your humanity alone. They are between 44 and 59 years old. They are watching their parents die. They are hitting midlife not with a crisis, but with a reckoning. The viral content about Gen X childhoods riding bikes until the streetlights came on this isn't just nostalgia. It is triggering something much more layered. For Millennials and Gen Z watching, it is something closer to awe and grief simultaneously, or that people lived that way. Gen X is now in charge. They are running companies, leading governments, shaping policy, raising the next generation. The cynicism that defined them was misread for decades. It wasn't nihilism. It was realism. A generation that stopped pretending. Millennials especially are arriving at a realization. Their Gen X parents loved them fiercely but emotionally weren't always there. A generation that was told to toughen up is now quietly confronting the cost of that toughness. The loneliness, the difficulty with vulnerability. They adapted. They developed a kind of psychological flexibility from having been left to figure things out, from having failed without a safety net. We finally developed the psychological vocabulary to understand what they actually went through. Their silence was never emptiness, it was depth. The forgotten generation is forgotten no more. Their legacy is the permission to feel it all, to say it out loud, and to ask for help. Something better than survival, something that finally looks like healing.